I'm going to be replacing all the cells in an older 18-volt DeWalt battery pack. This is a simple pack with no temperature sensor and only 2 terminals. "15 cells, size 4/5 sub C, make up the pack. 6 T10 torque screws hold the pack together. A single cell and terminals are pressed up in the neck of the pack and are a little tight to get out. The battery pack terminals are mounted right on the single top cell. I want to be very careful not to mangle it. If I destroy the terminals, can just throw the whole thing away. The positive terminal is easy as it's just a solder tab. The negative terminal is spot welded right to the case of the battery. It is a thick copper alloy of some kind, and my CD welder won't have near enough power to weld it, so I'll have to figure out a different way to attach it. There is a soft rubber spacer between the top cell and the lower 14 cells. That's a nice way to supply a little shock absorbency to the pack terminals. I don't have to worry about shorting out the cells because they are completely dead. So going to try hard not to tear the fish paper because I really don't want to cut out a new one. Then I'll just repeat the same procedure to get the bottom paper off and draw up a diagram to have for future reference. The batteries are from Amazon. I don't know why the cheapest ones come with tabs. If the tabs were big enough, it would be fine, but that's not the case, so I have to tear them off and file down the weld spots. The cells are 2200 mAh in a 4/5 sub C size. I really doubt the 2200 mAh capacity, but they are probably better than the original 1300 mAh cells. With the low power of my CD welder, I haven't had good enough results using the thicker nickel strips, so I'm going to be using 2 0.15mm thick by 6mm wide strips to connect the cells together. I did cut out a tray to make it a little easier to hold the batteries in position. My motorized weld head is still a work in progress, but I'm using about 5 pounds of pressure with a tip diameter of 1/16 of an inch. The tips are just hard copper, and that really causes a lot of sticking to the nickel strips. I need to find someone that sells small quantities of the copper alloy that's used just for this purpose. I'm doing the bottom of the pack first, then we'll use the fish paper to hold the cells in place to do the top. Soldering on the wire that will go to the positive terminal of the pack. It has to have enough tab length to fold down into the hole between the 4 cells. Now I put some heat shrink tubing over the wire and tab to keep the edges of the tab from rubbing the adjacent cells. Now I can put on the top piece of fish paper and everything is held together. The top battery has to have an almost 2-inch long tab. That rubber spacer is about 3/4 of an inch tall, and the tab has to wrap partially under, then along the side, and then partially over the top of the spacer. Going to have to cut part of the plastic wrap off the negative terminal of the cell. I ended up cutting a piece of nickel to weld to the pack negative terminal. I had used just a single tip to get enough energy to get the weld to work. Then I just spot welded that nickel to the battery. If the pack fails, it will probably be the negative terminal coming loose from the cell. I'll engrave the rebuild date on the case, and that will do it.